Hello and welcome to Shaman Sister Sessions, episode 84. I'm Michelle Hawk.
And I'm Katherine Bird.
And we're here live in person, which is rare for us, but due to our travel plans, it worked out. And we are so happy and excited to delve back into this with you. And today we're talking about how to choose a shaman.
This is such an important topic and is often an overlooked aspect of these kinds of works. We know that we want to work on something, or we want to work in a particular lineage or in a certain way, maybe doing some kind of medicine work or soul retrieval work, or any of these works. And then often our practitioner, our shaman, is sort of the last thing we think of, and we think that you should be putting a little bit more thought into it.
Absolutely. And so we'll be looking at some important things to consider when inviting someone into your spiritual practice in a very intimate way. Working with a shaman is a really energetically intimate process because you're inviting somebody into your energy field and into your process. And I'll kind of come alongside what Kat was saying and also offer, maybe you don't know what lineage you want to work with, or maybe you don't really have a particular modality, but you just either received an intuitive message that you're supposed to work with a shaman, or it's come up repeatedly, or maybe you just really like the idea. So we'll break down some important tools for you to consider when bringing a shaman into your practice.
And just like Michelle is saying, this is really important. This is your everything, your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, health and safety and well-being and development and evolution. And it should be taken into at least as much consideration as you put into buying a new car.
Right? Yeah. Read the reviews, people. Yeah. What's the blue book rating?
Right.
Etc. Right. And so reviews, that's one important piece of looking at how can you vet shamans, or how can you have a little bit of an idea of what somebody's like to work with. So asking for references, whether it's reviews or references that the shaman has either available on their website, or asking them for references about what have people found about working with you. Can you connect me with some people, which they may or may not be able to do due to privacy, but they may have either a way to contact former clients or put you in some sort of position to look at resources. Yeah. And no shaman would mind doing that, again, as long as it's within the bounds that they can offer for privacy. But I know many, and myself included, Kat included, we collect reviews. We have them posted happily so people can take a look, because it's a lot easier to look at what is someone else saying about working with this person. So look at, what are other people saying? What are other people's experience?
Right. And know that nobody's going to put their bad reviews on their website. So, everything can be taken with a grain of salt, and to understand that these are people, and that there are things that can go wrong and will go wrong in situations, and that there might be people who have things to say that they're not saying those things. One thing I will mention is that I know that in the medicine community, so utilizing some sort of substance to help to achieve a state of trance or transcendence or opening in order to do spiritual energetic work, just to kind of basically say that a lot of times there are practitioners that are going around, and you might get some good reviews from people, but especially if you're a woman, I'm gonna say, ask other women. Like, if 5 guys tell you this guy's the greatest, like, that's really not enough. You need to ask some women who have worked with this person before. I think that we often think that people who are in these positions are infallible, they're going to be ethical, they're going to have their shit together, and that's not always the case.
So absolutely. And then when reading reviews, since again there are going to be reviews and testimonials, etc., it's really helpful to look for consistent patterns. Look for anything that could be read as subtext of, okay, is this person either feeling pressured into writing a positive experience, or is there something that is hitting a little bit of a red flag for you? again, so this is one piece of the puzzle. It's just kind of like take a look, like we look at anything, like we look at a spot to go to for brunch or whatever, but just like look at what other people are saying and have a comprehensive picture of what that's like. So that would be one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful to understand what the heck you're getting into.
Yeah.
Like, what is this modality? What is this tradition? What, if you're using medicine, to understand what it is, how it works, what it's like. I mean, you're not going to get the full overriding picture of everything that you're going to experience in any kind of way, but you should be able to do some sort of research online or with other people to understand sort of the process that you're going to be going through. And if you're working with a shaman, they should be able to say, or they should have a team of people who are able to say, this is how it's going to work. This is what it's going to be like when you get here. This is the process you're going to go through. These are some things that you can expect. These are the things that are expected of you. And this is what it's going to be like after you leave. And this is also an important thing. Like, is there pre-conversation with this person or with their team so that your individual needs are taken into consideration? Are they asking questions of you? Are they inquiring into your reasons for doing this, but also your health, medications that you're on, things that matter when you're doing this kind of work? And then, is there any follow-up? There's not always follow-up, but that's also something to consider. Like, is there going to be some post experience check-in, follow-up, support, some community that you can key into, somebody that you can reach out to if you are struggling? Is this part of this person's community and experience? And sometimes, when I'm talking here, sometimes you're working with someone who is part of a community and maybe they're hosting a circle and there's a lot of people involved. And sometimes maybe you're just coming to a shaman and you're coming to an individual session. So there's a little bit of different stuff that's happening here, but these are important things to consider. So pre, post, are they asking about you individually, asking questions about you, like actually care who you are and what you're about and why you're coming? And is there any follow-up support and guidance, if something comes up for you?
Absolutely.
What happens?
Absolutely. And I want to introduce into our consideration, we're talking about not only working with medicine work, but also shamanic healing and other practices as well. But I would argue that it is vitally important to have a conversation with somebody. And if there's no protocol for that, then to me, that's a red flag. If you don't talk with either the facilitator themselves or with somebody on their team. And know that is going to tell you a lot. Again, we are all wildly intuitive. You are wildly intuitive. You're on here because you have this sense of connection and sense of self. And know that if any red flags come up, give them credence, listen to them. And there's it could be part of ourselves, looking to sabotage where, oh, well, maybe I really don't actually want to make that change. I don't want to go into that realm, and it'll seem like a red flag. Or maybe it's genuinely a red flag that's telling you, do not work with that person. Don't go there for whatever reason. But please give yourself the space and the capacity to pay attention to those. And also know that if you're having some red flags come up, it's okay to talk about that with the person that you're interviewing. Since, again, you don't have to bring any shaman into your practice. You do not have to. You are not obligated. Once you have a conversation with somebody, you're not required to hire them. And really, remember, you are hiring them. This is something that you're paying somebody or you're exchanging with somebody in order for them to perform a service for you. Same rules apply. Like before you're buying a car or whatever, you're allowed to drive it. You're allowed to give it a test run. So when you're speaking with a shaman, you're allowed to say, okay, these are some concerns that I'm having, and can we talk about this, and what is about this? Like, that's totally valid, again, because if you're bringing somebody into an intimate space with you, you want to be sure.
Yeah. And now there are some shamanic facilitators who you might be going to for, say, like a soul retriever, some kind of shamanic work. And there are some practitioners and people who will just have a buy now, go to my link, here's the price, here's what you're going to do in the session, and you can purchase here. So this isn't to say that that can't be a totally acceptable and normal, effective way to work with somebody. But of course, you're going to want to get good information from them, good feeling from them, from looking at their website and maybe writings or videos that they've put out, different kinds of materials that they have on there. Check out their social media presence, like check out whatever it is that they're producing to see if this is the person for you. And then it should, of course, be okay for you to send an email. Hey, this is what I'm concerned about, or this is my question, or ask, do you do consultations before I sign up for this, program or this session work? And oftentimes, we're healers, we're softies, we're going to be like, yeah, let's jump on a call, or here's my protocol for that. Here's the link to set that up. So it's not necessarily a red flag if somebody's just asking you to pay for a session on their site, and that's the easy way for you to interact with them.
Yeah, there are different schools of thought and different philosophies, especially for some of that work where it is a remote thing that you may never actually have an actual conversation with a practitioner, and that's normal. That within certain modalities.
Yeah.
So
I know shamanic practitioners who have very little interaction with their clients, and it's really like, by the session, we're gonna get on a call, and I'm gonna do this work, and then you're done. It's over. And it doesn't mean that work isn't very effective, and that person is not a highly skilled, ethical practitioner.
Right, but then it's down to the question of what kind of experience do you want to have. And so this is where, looking at either modalities or practitioners, or maybe you're open to what the modality is, but you find a practitioner that you feel really called to. And it's like, oh, I really resonate with this person. Awesome. I know that they have something that I need. And then I'm open to the way that comes about. Right. And I have a lot of people who find me who are sort of in that vein. And I know you do too, of like, you're amazing. What do you do? And how can I work with you? Right. It's almost like the modality comes second. So if you're in that position, then that's okay too. And knowing that a lot of times when we're looking for healing work, when we're looking for support, we may not know the form that it needs to come in. And if we find someone, if we have a mentor or a shaman or somebody come into our lives that sparks something in us or moves some energy in a really interesting way, and we know that we can receive from them, then follow your intuition in that way and be open of, okay, maybe it's not the modality that I always wanted to do, but know that it could be really exactly what you need.
I think that it's really easy to pedestalize shamanic practitioners, people who have this connection to the other realms, who have abilities and skills and gifts and all of these things. It is very easy to hold someone up into this idealized, sort of like Buddha kind of like, oh, you're like my teacher, and we put people on pedestals because we see their skills and their gifts and their connection to spirit. And just notice if you're doing this. Notice if this has become a tendency for you to not see this person as a human, to not see that they are fallible, they are human. They are human beings, and they have human traits just like everybody else. And it's helpful as we're on this journey to not be utilizing seeing practitioners or going to circles or receiving healing work as a way to create distance between ourselves and other people. Because we are healers, all of us. We're all doing our work. We're all doing, we're all on this journey. And I think sometimes we start creating these dynamics of power dynamics, and we actually feed a negative power dynamic into the experience that we're having.
Right. Sort of being on both sides of elitism in some form or another. Yeah. And that power dynamic is, there's something to be said just for recognizing, again, when you're inviting somebody into this intimate space, they're privy to some very deep, possibly hidden information. So, keep in mind whenever you're working with a shaman that there is inherently some sort of power dynamic at play. Now, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is, right? Like whenever we're bringing somebody into such a sacred, intimate process where we're sharing with them our deepest wounds, you're telling them about childhood traumas, you're letting them work on your body or on your energy field, right? So they are in a position of power when it comes to this working relationship. And it's really, really important to work with a shaman who knows that, who isn't, brushing that off, because I think it's, it's easy to dismiss of like, oh, no, I'm whatever. But no, it is a thing, right? And is able to work with it and hold it and be a really safe place for you. So knowing that trustworthiness in whatever form it takes, again, whether it's somebody that you never actually speak with, but just kind of buy a session online, great. Whether it's somebody that you're surrendering to doing some very deep work with and they're physically putting their hands on you, anywhere in this spectrum of intimacy, there is a power dynamic. And any responsible ethical practitioner is going to know that and going to treat that as a very sacred thing.
Right. Because power dynamics are easy to exploit. And there are lots of stories out there of people who have used their energy, their gifts, their ability to influence, matter, space, and time to create influence on people that's not positive and not helpful. So, I think it always has to be spoken to that no one should be touching you sexually or in any kind of inappropriate way for any reason that hasn't been priorly discussed in a non-medicine, non-trance, non-session way. So before anybody opens up a session to work with you, before you go into any sort of an experience with that person, if there is going to be some sort of sexual contact or healing involved, there should be a discussion about that before you get into a space where you are more vulnerable because maybe you're laying on a table or you've taken medicine or you are just in sort of an altered experience with this person. And if that is happening, then that is a red flag. That's something that needs to be looked at and discussed. And it's just like I just want to spell it out. Like no one should be touching you sexually or in an inappropriate way unless it's part of a specific healing modality and you have given 100% consent from a grounded, centered, detached place,
informed,
being in the actual experience of it happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And this again, just the ethics of any responsible practitioner will always honor your choice. Any ethical practitioner, no matter what it is, whether it's within a sexual healing session or any work or soul retrieval work, you are always a choice. And any responsible shaman will honor your sovereignty and your free will. So you are always at choice. Everything will be presented as an invitation. They're not going to make decisions for you, right? So that's
a really important thing to look at. Like, is this person, activating me into my own sovereignty and my own healing and my own, or is this person somehow, bossing me around?
Bossing around, or maybe
sometimes we're bossy. Let's just say it.
Right.
We're bossy. Sometimes I'm gonna boss you around, and we work together.
But it's gonna be with your agreement. You're gonna be on board, right? So do I have your permission to push you?
Yeah.
Right. And I've asked that question. I know you have before, of like getting your consent in order to create an experience that you're agreeing to, that's safe and held, and also pushing your edges. So that, again, it has a place to be within a healthy container. But any shaman who just starts, pushing, provoking, deliberately triggering without inviting you in to be a part of that experience, I think that's really irresponsible. And I know that personal pet peeve, like there's a school of thought or multiple schools of thought in practitioners, especially like the very macho, like certain somatic philosophies, where they pride themselves on triggering the F out of people in order to create a really strong response and release a lot of charge. And I find it makes me really uncomfortable because it doesn't actually bring into play empowerment and consent and the person receiving actively participating in creating their own experience. So again,
But it can, like,
it can.
you know, in this kind of deep work, you will get triggered.
Yeah.
You will get maybe upset. You will maybe see that person as you're not being nice or something. Like,
Yeah.
you might project all kinds of shit on this person, and that's okay. What we're talking about is that there is a clear container for the experience that you're having, that
Yeah.
going into this journey with this person feels safe, so that you're safe enough to get triggered and to have stuff come up, and that you're safe enough to actually work through it to a resolved ending that feels healing and serving the whole.
Totally. Yes. Trigger has a place and time and can be a healthy and productive thing. But again, within this container experience. And this kind of brings me back around to the idea of what kind of experience do you want to have when working with shaman? You know, sort of going through your list of questions like, do I want to work with someone remotely? Do I want to not really have much interaction with my shaman practitioner? Okay, in which case there are plenty of practitioners who have the buy session online. Great, that's a really good option for you. Do you want to work in a more intimate experience with somebody? Do you want to work over a long term with somebody? Do you want just a one-off session? Do you want to work with someone in person? Do you want to work with someone who specializes in a particular modality? Do you want to work in medicine work, right? Like all of these things about what experience do I want to have, and how much intention can I have in creating this and inviting in the specific energies to support that. And then what's up for grabs? Like what am I not particularly attached to that then I can be in some flexible creation with the practitioner? Or maybe there's, your kind of list of must haves that you find somebody and they don't meet that. That's okay. Somebody else will.
Yeah. But you also, because this is such a large body of work, and there's so many people who are doing such, like, there's core essences to this work, and then there's so many different expressions of it. So you get to be this active participant in sourcing and finding the kind of practitioner that's going to be perfect for you. And you get to ask those questions. Well, how does this person like to work? Like, if you come to me and you're like, I want to do, like, sometimes I have people who are like, I want you to, do an exorcism and a soul retrieval, and, like, that's it in one session, like, and I want to buy a session. What does that look like? Well, that's not what I'm going to do, because I want to have a conversation with you. I want to find out what's going on in your life. I want to, book out more than one session so that the work that we're doing is holistic, it's complete, it's supported. There's, I'm offering you more than just let me fix you and change your reality. No, I want to give you more support than that, so that reality shift can actually be sustainable. And that's what I'm really passionate about as a practitioner. So when you're contacting me, I'm inviting you into a new world that's much more holistic. So, and because that lights me up, that makes me want to work that way. And if you want someone who's just going to do a quick, shamanic session over the phone or something, like, I got that guy, I'll give you somebody to call, right? So
yeah, we know a lot of people, so we're able to refer. And I mean, I've got my referral list of, if someone says, oh, I'm looking for XYZ, I'm like, okay, well, that's not me, and I'm happy to help you. Yeah. So again, that's kind of like keep an open mind about if there's a lot of attachment to working either with a particular modality or a particular energy, or like, I really want to work with a man or a woman or a non-binary person or a whatever lineage person, like, it doesn't matter. There will be somebody out there who can meet that for you.
Yeah. And if you're getting this message, if this is if you're watching this video, you're getting this message. So another very helpful tool is for you to really sit with this, to journal, to go over these questions about what it is that you're looking for. Why do you want to do this? What are you hoping to achieve? What do you want your life to look like in, you know, in a month's time, 6 months time, a year's time, start to vision in what it is that you're calling in. What are the aspects of yourself that you want to uncover? And pray and ask and connect with your heart and be like, I'm ready. I'm ready for this teacher. I'm ready for this guide. I am ready. One thing that I know at one point, what is it that I say a lot? If I'm looking for a teacher, I'm very consciously asking for that on a regular daily basis. I am looking for a teacher on the earthly plane to come into my life to support me, and I will make that request on a daily basis. And I've found that that's one of the most, like, the best ways. I will run into the most incredible person in the most random place and be like, oh, okay, let's have a conversation. I'm here to work with you or learn from you.
Absolutely, inviting that being in, that person in on the energetic plane, and then running into them in life, whether it's
I've had somebody like contact me on the internet from a video and be like, oh, come and study with me. come and train with me. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So whether it's that you're finding people's podcast online, or finding, referrals or recommendations, or going to a class and meeting somebody that it really feels aligned with what you'd like to be inviting in as a shaman, as a mentor, as a guide. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, we gave you a lot to work with there. I hope that was helpful. And so essentially, and also one last thing I'd really like to invite of, just trust yourself. And remember that you are committed to your path. You're asking great questions. As long as you keep being in integrity to yourself and to your own process, you will find the shaman to support you, who can also be in integrity and support you in that as well.
Ask great questions. Check in with yourself. If you are not able to check in with yourself, it is very helpful to have someone else in your life that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can check in with. And sometimes when we're going into these realms, we feel like a little bit alone, because maybe our friends and family aren't going to understand us, understand our desires, understand what it is that we're going for, and they'll kind of poo-poo this whole idea and be like, what are you talking about? That's totally crazy. So, sometimes being able to tune into maybe an online community or some sort of group where you feel safe, find that one person that you feel safe with, that you can have these conversations with, I think is really important too, so that you can feel heard and seen throughout this experience.
Absolutely. Great. Anything else? I feel like that was a lot.
That was a lot.
Great.
So thank you for tuning in. And if you would like to see the rest of our episodes, you can catch those on YouTube, iTunes,
and Stitcher.
Under Shaman Sister Sessions. We have over 80 episodes for you to tune into. So
lots and lots of free content, and yeah, there's a lot for you to engage with, a lot of advice, a lot of practices, a lot of really great questions to ask. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to our channels, and you'll receive notifications of when we post the next episodes. And if you want more, you can follow us on Facebook. You can find us online, shamansistersessions.com. You can reach out. We'd love to hear from you if you want to send us an email to shamansistersessions@gmail.com, and let us know how this landed for you. And let us know if there's anything in particular you would love to hear us talk about on the show. We air 2 episodes a month, and we also invite in special guests. So if there's anyone that you have in mind that you'd like to connect us with and have us on the show, then we appreciate that suggestion.
Thanks for tuning in.